We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get this party started. Let's get this party started.
I don't think you used the word live correctly.
What's up, world? It's the Fun Waste of Time podcast, where a couple of friends get together to discuss all things entertainment, movies, TV, video games, home theater, and anything else considered a fun way to waste your day. I'm your host, Taurus, and along with me this episode, we've got Brad, James, and Anthony. Now, we're not industry professionals. We're just fans of our hobbies who enjoy talking shop about our favorite pastimes. So if you enjoy entertainment media, pop culture, and home theater, we hope you enjoy listening into the conversation because we're going to have a great time having the discussion. Let's get it started. Welcome to episode 38 of the Fun Waste of Time. It's awesome to be here with you guys. And as you all know, we're going to have another fantastic time together. We've got some great topics lined up to discuss, and the fellas always have some phenomenal insight to share on the discussion. So let's check in with the fellas and see how they're doing. What's happening, guys?
What's going on?
What's up?
Hey.
It is awesome to see you guys again.
Hey.
James, what's the latest with you?
Not much, man. There's been a lot going on this week on TV and in movies. We got a lot of good stuff. Got some good stuff coming up. It's been really good. What about you, Anthony?
Doing well. You know, been playing a little PS5 with some, doing some adventuring out there, watching some TV, some movies. How about you, Brad?
Oh, it's been a whirlwind of emotions, man. Let me tell you. This past week has been crazy. We got a new TV, and yeah, I actually thought about not coming to the podcast today just to play around with it, but I couldn't let my fellas down.
Was it because of the TV, or again, did you want to talk about the chicken sandwich wars?
We can get to that later. I don't mind talking about that.
Okay.
My money's on Zaxby's, but no, yeah, we got an 85-inch Vizio P-Series Quantum yesterday. So, yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, you've taken your home theater up to the next level, Brad. I want to hear all about it. So not only did you get a new 85-inch Vizio 4K 120 hertz TV, but you also got a new addition in the audio side of the house, right?
Yeah, I got are you talking about the PB2000 Pro?
Talking about the PB2000.
Yeah.
You were reviewing it at first, but now you decided to go ahead and buy it, right? So now it is actually yours.
It is actually mine. It feels great. I feel like I have a home theater now that's just kind of well put together. It's something I've wanted for quite a long time, and it's still a work in progress as all things are, but yeah, I feel like I'm finally at a point where I'm like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to be upgrading anything. Maybe the receiver to something that supports, HDMI 2.1 when that becomes a little more common and with less issues, as I'm sure, people out there listening are familiar with if you're into home theater. But yeah, I'm feeling really good right now.
That is fantastic. Now, also, if you haven't had the opportunity to do so just yet, go subscribe to Brad's YouTube channel, Home Theater Gamer. He has great content there, and every week he's highlighting new and interesting things in home theater, tech, and gaming. Awesome channel. Great stuff. Well, all right. Well, let's not delay, guys. Let's get right into video games.
Video games. The Fun Waste of Time podcast. Pick up the controller. Video games. Video games. Video games.
Now, over the last couple of years or so, we've seen the video game industry transition from heavily focusing on developing competitive multiplayer games to putting more and more resources into creating co-op campaign experiences. Now, don't get me wrong, competitive multiplayer gaming is still fairly strong, with games like Fortnite, Overwatch, Call of Duty Warzone, Apex Legends, and Rainbow Six Siege. Multiplayer experiences have hit their stride and have found a thriving and enthusiastic community. However, over the past few years, we've seen many game developers and publishers make a more concerted effort to create cooperative experiences, where instead of just fanning the flames of competition among the gaming community, the emphasis is more so on collaboration, brainstorming, and working as a team. As an example of the industry's shift to focusing on co-op experiences, just in the first half of this year alone, there are 5 co-op games preparing to release before July of this year. We've got Hazelight Studios' It Takes Two, which looks like a fantastic 2-person co-op game. We've got People Can Fly's Outriders, which I am personally overexcited about. Cold Iron Studios' Aliens Fire Team. Total Rock Studios' Back for Blood. And Took Games' Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance. And even one of the biggest live service multiplayer games, Destiny 2, allows players to experience the campaign, subsequent expansions and DLC, as well as raids together with friends and family. Now, I want to start with James on this one. James, where do you stand on competitive multiplayer games? Meaning, have you ever liked to play them, and do you still? And if so, what games? And how do you feel about game developers and publishers putting more resources into creating co-op games and experiences?
I think that as far as multiplayer games go, I've always spent a good portion of time since I started gaming on playing them. If you go back to Halo, Call of Duty, I mean, it's always kind of been around and been something that I've interested in. As far as the competitive aspect of it, I would say for me, when I was younger, it was more of a thing to be competitive, and now it's competitive gaming is more of a space where I connect with friends and we have a good time. And the competitive nature is kind of taking like a little bit of a back seat. As far as playing multiplayer games with your friends, that to me is where I spend an exorbitant amount of my gaming time. Destiny 2 right now is something I spend probably about 10 hours a week on. We all got together and played Outriders. We played the Division 2, and I think with the level of coordination it takes for some of these games when it comes to the raids, and even some of the activities that you can do alone, without your friends, I think they've done a really good job as putting it as kind of like a 1A, 1B as far as that space goes. What do you think, Anthony?
Yeah, so I'm kind of relatively new to the experience. You guys kind of got me into it. I used to just play, offline campaign type stuff, but I really enjoyed it. I think the first real game I kind of dipped my toe into was Destiny and Destiny 2, where we did a lot more of the raid type things. We didn't really do many of the campaign type missions, but with Division 2 and most recently, James and I have done the Ghosts of Tsushima online campaign, which was a lot of fun. They also have like a survival mode, which you can do with more players. But I think what I liked about the campaign was we were able to take our time and kind of strategize how we wanted to accomplish the mission, which I kind of enjoyed a lot more because when you got the clock ticking and you got to go here and there, sometimes you got to pick up extra players or whatever. But in the campaign mode, we were able to just focus on what we wanted to do, how we wanted to attack it, what angle we wanted to enter from, and all that sort of stuff. But it's really changed my mind recently playing those games because I've opened up a lot more towards the online gaming experience. It's a lot more fun. How about you, Brad?
Well, I used to play competitive games a lot back in the day. I'm talking about like the PS2 era, Xbox 360, Halo 2, stuff like that. I just kind of stopped playing, just kind of got out of that. So I'm not really willing to go back into the competitive aspect just because I don't have the time to devote to actually to get good, as they say. Everybody says these days, all the kids. I sound like a boomer, but like, oh, these kids, let me tell you. But I do love me a good co-op experience, as Taurus knows. I do still prefer, I think, single player games mostly, just because I like that story arc that single player games have. But sometimes you don't want to do that. You don't want to play that. And with co-op games, there's just such a vast array now and a variety of game types that are out there. Like you have your looter shooters, which, if you're not into that kind of gameplay loop where it's just all about the gear, then, you have other things that are like Gears of War and, Outriders is kind of I feel like a hybrid. Like they do have like a loot system, but I don't know. I kind of, as Taurus and I played through the demo, I had not played it much, and I was kind of not really feeling it at first. And then the more we played it, the more I'm like, I actually really like this game, to the point where like I pre-ordered it and I'm gonna play through it with Taurus at least. So I don't know if it's something that I play by myself, because what happens with co-op games for me in general is, you get that co-op experience and then you go to play by yourself and you're like, oh, well, this kind of sucks. Like this is boring. But yeah, I mean, I'm really interested to see stuff like Back 4 Blood, which I was a big Left 4 Dead fan. Again, I think we've talked about this on the podcast. Not really sure if it's something that's worth the $60 just for the nostalgia feel. Depending on how many levels and stuff there are. But Taurus, what are your thoughts and feelings on all of this?
For me, I've never really been much of a competitive multiplayer kind of guy. Co-op experiences have always been my favorite experiences. And I think I've mentioned that on the show many, many times before. There's nothing like getting together with a bunch of friends or with your family and just working through a common cooperative objective together. That is what's fun to me. Getting shot left and right and dying and respawning, and that's your loop. For whatever reason, I've never really found that to be all that appealing. But I will say there is a place for it. And I know that we were just talking a little bit a while ago about Destiny 2. Destiny 2 has a fantastic campaign that you can run through single player. You can run through with your friends. James knows there are raids that you can run through with friends as well, where you're working towards something cooperatively to achieve an objective. So those instances are really, really fun, in my opinion. One second here, guys.
I would like to say what Taurus is pulling that up is, it's ironic that he says that, because one thing people don't know about Taurus is, even though he likes to co-op with his boys and everything, he is by far the most competitive member of the team. Okay, so even though he's co-oping, he's still calling you lame, and he's still comparing. He's still looking at statistics. Don't let him fool you. Okay, so hey, he's a what I like to call a competitive co-op.
I like to have a good time with the fellas. You know what I mean? So we can up the stakes a little bit so that everybody's having a good time and they're up in their game. I'm all for that. But over the years, I played a lot of great co-op games. And last generation, actually the 360 generation, there were games like Army of Two. I don't know if you guys ever remember that game. That was a fantastic co-op game. One of the earliest co-op games that I played. Left 4 Dead, even to this day, one of my favorite games. And what we're looking at right now is the spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead, which is Back 4 Blood, that Turtle Rock Studios is working on, and that's going to be coming out in June. A lot of people are really excited about this, and I'm really hoping that we all can get together and maybe play this. Looks like it'll be super fun. Shooters are some of my favorites, and that's one of the reasons why I think I like Outriders so much. Outriders it did something to me. I don't know what it is. I took 2 days off of work when the game comes out. so I can stay home and play this game. But in addition to that, I will say this. On the 31st of March, Godzilla vs. Kong is going to be coming out. So I wanted to make sure that not only did I have the next day off so I could enjoy Godzilla vs. Kong at whatever time of the night I wanted to watch it, but the next morning would be like Christmas and I'd be able to jump into playing Outriders. But
You're going
I
to be
also,
late, though, because I'm going to start playing at 12:01.
hey, I'll probably be around, man, but I'm going to be spending a lot of time with this game. I'm playing it for the full 2 days. I actually signed up on the Outriders Facebook group as a member there. They have 400 members so far, and they're very active in the Outriders demo. So I'm assuming when the game comes out, it's just going to be a free-for-all of good content and people getting together, playing games and whatnot. The moderator of that group, of that Outriders Facebook group, will be joining me in April, probably the second or third week, and we're going to have a spoiler discussion about Outriders because he does a great job moderating that Facebook group. But I love co-op experiences, and I am all for all of these gaming companies and publishers creating all of these fantastic co-op experiences. All right. Let's go ahead and move it on to the next topic, guys. Now, Xbox has been making some serious moves lately. They finally closed the Bethesda ZeniMax deal and dropped 20 previously released Bethesda games onto Game Pass. I'm talking fantastic games like the Fallout series, the Elder Scrolls series with Oblivion, Morrowind, Skyrim, and Elder Scrolls Online, which was on Game Pass already. 3 Wolfenstein games and expansions, Doom, Prey, Dishonored, and the list just goes on. In addition to all of these fantastic games that are releasing on Game Pass, 5 of them have debuted with an FPS boost to 60 frames per second, thanks to the Xbox FPS Boost team. Those games were Dishonored Definitive Edition, the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim Special Edition, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, and Prey. I'm going to come to you on this one, Brad. With Microsoft acquiring major gaming publisher ZeniMax Bethesda and all of their studios and properties, do you believe Xbox has changed the narrative about them lacking appealing exclusives that people want to play? And do you think they can take the top spot for platform exclusives this generation?
I mean, it's definitely a conversation worth having because, one of the biggest things with Microsoft has been they don't really have much exclusivity with games in the way that, like, something like PlayStation does with their, first party games like Last of Us and Spider-Man and all that stuff. I think it might change the narrative. It's kind of a wait and see for me at this point because I don't know if all of these new games coming out are going to be exclusive to the Microsoft platform. And when I say platform, I mean, Xbox and PC, because it's kind of goes hand in hand with that there. They're going to have a really hard time trying to grab that top spot. If we kind of look at Bethesda's track record with Fallout 76 and stuff like that, it's going to be hard just because Bethesda themselves aren't really in good graces with a lot of people still after the whole Fallout 76 fiasco and everything that went on with that. I honestly don't know if they could grab that top spot from Sony in terms of exclusives. And this is not me being, a console fanboy or whatever. I would love to see some really stiff competition and kind of both companies being pushed to their max essentially to get these games better and stuff. By the way, I know the question you asked was not related to this, but if anybody watching or listening to this has not played the game Prey before, now is the time to do it. That game is amazing, and the 60 FPS boost is transformative. I played it on the PC, and it was a night and day difference from playing it on console back in the Xbox One days. But Anthony, how do you feel about all this?
It's hard for me to be to be that excited about it. Just because I don't actually play a lot of Bethesda games. Out of the titles that Taurus just ran through, I think I've touched on Fallout a little bit, but it really wasn't my jam too much. So I think we got to wait and see, honestly. I don't know if that's enough, but maybe it will be. I'm going to pass it over to James, though, because he's a lot more qualified than I am to give his opinion on it. That's you, James.
Yeah, I know. After I'm we kind of keep circling around to this Xbox and exclusive game thing. And I just was trying to put my thoughts together to not be as negative, but I can't. So I'm just going to say what I have to say, and I'll pass it on to Taurus. All of this is done to bolster Game Pass sales, period. There's no other reason to visit these old games or give them FBS boosts, but for Game Pass. And they still don't have their own games, so they bought the studio. Those games weren't made when Microsoft had the exclusivity rights. You can go to the store and get any one of those games on eBay, wherever you want, for $3 or $4, play through them, and it's still not going to cost you $14.99 a month. No, they can't take the top spot because those top Bethesda games, I highly doubt are going to be console exclusives. You're just throwing money out the door. So it's purely Game Pass related. And, if you want to go back and play those games with the boost, that's fantastic. But when Microsoft gives me something new, then I'll be excited.
So it's funny that you said that, James, because it seems like you're insinuating that this conversation is being led by one particular person who has a very specific opinion on the matter, and that we keep revisiting because of that individual. Is that what you're saying, James?
No, I'm not. I mean, obviously, I'm not though. Like, there's not a ton of news, in the gaming world, literally, unless you want to dig real deep. So, I mean, for most people, this is exciting. But for someone who's not really once I've played, these style games that I'm going to go back and play them again and again, it absolutely, for me, has no appeal to that $14.99 a month that I'm paying right now. I want something new for that $14.99 a month. It's not necessarily have to be an exclusive, but I'm not downloading any of those with limited space. I mean, unless I want to go out and buy a $300 memory card, like I can't be having 20 old games on my console with 100 gig Call of Duty, 100 gig Destiny, 150 gig Division. I mean, there's just not space. But to each their own. What about you, Taurus?
Well, as for this topic being added to the discussion,
That wasn't me.
No, that's all right. That's all right. I just want to answer this. The reason we rolled back
somebody's
to it.
so afraid. Wait, hold on. He laid the framework. he laid the framework and then just left me out there. But that's fine. Go ahead, Taurus. I'm sorry.
Now, what I was going to say was one of the reasons why this topic is back on our agenda is because when we discussed it back in September, I believe, that was when the news actually started to trickle down that Microsoft was in the process of purchasing Bethesda, but the deal wasn't actually done. So just recently, within the last, say, few weeks, they actually finalized the deal. So there were some business authorities out in Europe and also here in the States that they actually had to pass in order for the deal to go through. And it seems as if they actually got the buy-in from those entities and those authorities. So now they actually own Bethesda. And they held a kind of a round table between the executives at Microsoft, at Xbox, and the senior leaders over at Bethesda, talking about the acquisition and how they're going to be working together and collaborating, not only on Bethesda games, but also Xbox Studio games. So Xbox Studios has 15 studios already. And now with Bethesda, with their 7, that brings them to 23 total exclusive studios. And some of the games that these studios are going to be making are going to be fantastic. Now, James always goes to the point that there are no games for Xbox right now. And I always come back and state he's absolutely right. And the way that he feels is absolutely valid. But just give it a bit of time, man. It's coming. And not only is it coming, it's going to be pretty hard with what they're going to be providing for us. Because they have 23 studios, there's going to be a constant cycling of new and exciting properties, I think. And we more than likely will see some of these properties drop a little later in the year. We have E3, or Microsoft is going to be doing their equivalent of an E3 event this summer. So we'll get the opportunity to see what Bethesda is going to do and what some of these other studios that Xbox has, what they're going to do as well. So these are exciting times. I'm very, very happy with that, with the way that they're actually approaching this. And as for them being able to take the top spot from Sony, I think they can compete with them very, very well. I don't know if they can take it from them, but I definitely think they can compete. Sony's got some heavy hitters, man. I'm talking The Last of Us, Uncharted, Spider-Man, God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, Ratchet and Clank, and the list goes on and on. Xbox has some exclusives that they dropped last generation, but none of them were, well, only a few of them were as heavy as hitters as what PlayStation has. Now with these 23 studios, we're going to see Xbox have some really cool exclusives. And to James's point about whether or not these games will be exclusive, during the round table that Phil Spencer, my favorite executive of all of the executives I've ever heard of, that's awesome. But what he said in that round table was the contracts that they actually have on legacy games right now that are out there, they're going to honor those contracts, right? So the games that are on PlayStation right now that are Bethesda games, they're going to continue to honor that. PlayStation already put into contract for Deathloop. That's a Bethesda game studios, Bethesda Studios game. Also, Tokyo, Ghostwire Tokyo. So they have 2 Bethesda games that are going to be coming to their platform that will be timed exclusive. So Xbox is going to honor those. But I think any new games that are going to be coming out of Bethesda, Starfield, Fallout 6 or Fallout 5, the next one that comes out, Elder Scrolls 6, all of those heavy-hitting Bethesda games are going to be Xbox exclusives. So if you want to play them, Phil Spencer did say this, you want to make sure that you are bought into the Game Pass ecosystem. So we'll see more of what's going to come out this summer. They will be having an event, they stated, and everybody's going to be watching it. So these are exciting times, man. I'm very happy with how Xbox is, the moves that they're making. I think it's starting to really show that they want to take the lead, man. They really want it. James?
So you honestly think that Elder Scrolls is only going to come out on Xbox?
I do. Game Pass. Any platform where there's Game Pass, it will. So that would be mobile. If you're playing Game Pass on xCloud, or wherever Game Pass is available, let's say later this year, we've been hearing rumors about Game Pass being included in certain TVs as one of the apps on the TV. There's a very, very good chance that Game Pass will be there and all of those games will be available there as well. So I do.
So but the problem with that is that it always circles around to, you have to follow the money. And if you follow the money, you're going to alienate. So what was it? Last console cycle, and I could be misspeaking, it was 2-1, 3-1 Sony sales over Microsoft Xbox sales. So you're going to alienate basically 60% of the market for that. I mean, we'll look at MLB, the show coming to Xbox this year. That was a money move. And it also could show you that Sony's willing to play nice, obviously, because they want the Bethesda games on their consoles as well. I just have a hard time believing that you're only going to be playing something like Elder Scrolls on just Game Pass.
I fully understand your rationale for that, James, and I can understand how someone could think that way. However, from the business perspective, you need to think like this. You don't spend $7.5 billion to buy a full publisher with 7 studios to put games on your rival platform.
Disney does it.
Sony's already in the lead. So you're not saying The Mandalorian and Falcon and the Winter Soldier on Disney.
No, but they do it with older movies.
Legacy. That's right. Legacy movies. And Bethesda's going to do the same thing. They're going to honor those contracts for legacy games that are already on the PlayStation platform. But new games, you don't spend $7.5 billion to put Starfield and Fallout 5 and Elder Scrolls 6 on PlayStation.
And you don't
just way too much money.
Don't throw away 60% of your sales.
They're trying to build
to alienate a customer base. You don't do that.
They're trying to build their Game Pass service. And the way that you build your Game Pass service is you have to give your subscribers a reason to want to pay to join into the service. So if you can only get these games on Game Pass, well, guess what people are going to do? They're going to subscribe to Game Pass, and they're going to be able to play those games wherever Game Pass is available. Not necessarily just on a Xbox Series X or S, but xCloud, you're playing it on your phones, you're playing it on your tablets, and wherever it's available. So I think it's a very, very smart move. I do think that those games are going to be exclusive, and I think that they will compete very closely, if not eventually take the lead by the end of the cycle, with being the platform to go to for exclusives. Awesome discussion, though, guys. All right. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about is, in addition to the Bethesda deal being done and all of the great news surrounding the acquisition, that wasn't the only fantastic Xbox news that dropped over the last few weeks. Xbox, a few days after the Bethesda announcement, dropped another major bomb exciting fans and proponents of their Game Pass streaming service. A deal was struck with major game publisher Square Enix to drop popular and upcoming game developer People Can Fly's next major title, Outriders, day and date of release on Game Pass. Outriders is a third-person, three-player co-op cover-based looter shooter with the tagline, "Cover is for cowards." The game's demo dropped a few weeks ago, and its reception among most in the gaming community has been surprisingly, overwhelmingly positive. And overwhelmingly, I'm speaking for me because, like I said, I love this game. But Anthony, I'm going to come to you on this one. What do you think about Xbox striking deals with major third-party publishers to acquire their newly released games day and date for Game Pass? Do you support this, or do you think it's best these third-party games get equal footing on all major platforms?
I'm kind of in between. So I can see the advantage of it, really attract into the Game Pass. But then, there's some people that may enjoy or want to take advantage of the game that, if it's locked up in Game Pass exclusive, they might not be able to. But it sounds exciting. It might give me a reason. I personally don't have Game Pass, but I've been thinking about it. So this, the more the exclusives that come out there, early on, the more it might encourage me to go out and get it. James, what do you think?
So like I texted you guys when we talked about this, that I'd have to eat a little bit of crow as far as Game Pass goes. This is a really good move for Game Pass. It's actually one of the reasons why I just renewed mine, because as we had spoken before, I wasn't sure if I was going to renew it because Microsoft hadn't given me any games. But doing things like this for Game Pass is a good thing while they wait until their games come out. So this is kind of a bridge for me and probably for other people who are on the fence saying, well, I'm not getting any Microsoft exclusives. To go out and do this makes complete sense business-wise. Because now it's like, my Game Pass ended April 30th, I think. And I was like, well, I'll get it for 3 more months because I don't have to pay $60 for Outriders. And as long as within that 3 months, if they give me something else, I'll probably extend it again until their games, start coming out. It's a good bridge. I think it was needed between this and NBA 2K. I thought were really good deals. And look, if you have a PlayStation and you want to play these games, then pay for them. You were going to do it anyways, regardless. But now this, because if you have Game Pass, saves you $60, makes it worthwhile for the time that you have spent on Game Pass and you've kind of been looking for things to play. What about you, Brad? What do you think?
I think it's a good thing. I got in on Game Pass really early on, actually, like way before it was Game Pass Ultimate and all that stuff. I think at the time I'd gotten a deal where like basically you pay $1 and all of your time that you have left was converted to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. So I literally paid $1 and I'm good through 2025 on Game Pass Ultimate. Like I don't have to pay anything. So if I was paying monthly, I would maybe be a little more hesitant because it feels like everything these days is a subscription service. You used to be able to get all this stuff on Netflix. Well, now these companies said, well, we want to get in on this too. So it's just another thing that you'd have to pay for. But I think this is actually like a good thing. Like you said, if you're on PlayStation side of things, and yeah, go ahead and pay for it. For me, it's kind of funny. I don't even own an Xbox. I just do all of my gaming stuff on PC and PS5. And luckily with Game Pass Ultimate, I have the Game Pass for PC. So all of those games are day and date on the PC as well. I mean, there's a few outliers here or there, but like Outriders, for instance, is on Game Pass, but I like pre-ordered it before I realized like, oh, I don't have to pay for this, but I want to play it easily on the big screen anyway. So that way I could, just pop it on the PS5. But yeah, it's hard to say if I don't really know if it being on Game Pass, because not everybody has Game Pass, and like you said, it is expensive. It's kind of, I don't want to say it's lopsided really toward like it is kind of favoring Xbox a little bit, but again, going back to like you said, if you're going to play it on PlayStation, you're going to buy it anyway. You're going to pay for it. So I don't think that this is really like, it's not 100% equal footing, but I don't think it's as like, straight for Xbox, like it's a total win for them. Like I think it's more of, it's not as simple as that, basically. Taurus, what are your thoughts?
I think this is actually a pretty cool thing. And the reason I say that is because if it's a game that needs a community of people to constantly play it, months and even years down the line for it to stay viable, I think Game Pass is a great option for those types of games. And that's one of the reasons why Bungie decided to strike that deal with Game Pass for Destiny. Destiny 2 is thriving right now because it has a consistent community of players regularly logging into the game. Elder Scrolls Online and Fallout 76, which are MMOs, massively multiplayer online games, are doing well on Game Pass for the same reason. And with Outriders, for instance, Xbox is paying them to be on their platform, and they're building a fan base who will continually play the game for years to come and buy additional items within the game to help the developer stay in business and to keep making games. PlayStation does the same thing. We just talked a minute ago about the deal that they struck, the time-exclusive deal for Ghostwire Tokyo and Deathloop with Bethesda prior to Microsoft acquiring them. And we don't know how long that deal is going to be. It's more than likely going to be anywhere from, say, 6 months to a year before they get it. But this kind of thing has been happening for years. Now it's just with Game Pass as a service. So I kind of like the moves that Xbox is making. Now, even though they don't have many of their own exclusives to put out right now, if they continue to make deals like this, then they're going to continue to build their game-based subscriber, their Game Pass subscriber base. So this is a fantastic thing. I want to continue to see them do this. And there's talk about, I've been hearing some things about Ubisoft potentially getting more involved with Game Pass as well, putting more of their games on the service. So Phil Spencer is making some moves, man, and I really, really do believe that they're positioning themselves well in this upcoming generation, more than likely within the next year or so, when their studios are going to be ready to drop their exclusives. So I think this is a fantastic thing.
You're listening to the Fun Waste of Time podcast.
All right, so let's go to what we've been playing. Let's start with Brad. Brad, what have you been playing over the last few weeks?
I mean, I'm still stuck on No Man's Sky. I just keep going back to that for some reason. It's just kind of this relaxing game that you could just pick up and play. I'm not really serious into it. I just enjoy kind of exploring and stuff. We did play the Outriders demo. Actually, I wasn't on the last podcast. I did acquire a PS5 within that, between the last time that, I was on the podcast. So I've been going through a lot of stuff there. Again, No Man's Sky mainly on the PS5. But I'm really excited because with the new TV, I'm finally going to get back into. I want to just double down and get into Ghost of Tsushima, and maybe replay God of War and Days Gone because they've been updated. I really enjoyed those games, and I've just replaying them at 60 frames per second is a godsend. Finally.
Well, good luck playing them in that living room of yours, in that theater that you have, because I get the feeling that your wife is going to start spending a lot more time down there now that you got that 85-inch TV there, brother.
Well, here's the thing, though, with that. We moved the 65-inch into the bedroom. So she has the 65-inch instead of the 50-inch now in there. So we'll see. We'll see. She knows that's kind of like my home away from home, essentially. It's where I spend most of my time, is in front of the TV there.
See, I like how Brad is thinking strategically. He knew that he wanted that 85-inch TV to be all his. So he took that previous TV, put it in the bedroom so the wife will be happy getting her nice little upgrade. That is awesome. James, what have you been playing these days?
I've just been raiding on Destiny 2 and completing these challenges that are in the season pass, which have become a little daunting to say the least. This week, I also spent some time with Anthony. We played and finished the remainder of the missions for Ghost of Tsushima Legend mode, which was a lot of fun. We had a really good time. I've also been playing NBA 2K as well, working on my career and getting my player up.
What point are you at with him right now? Is he past the high school, college? Is he in the NBA or?
Yeah, I mean, I come off the bench for the Lakers right now, but I just hit the point in the role playing portion of the game where, they trick because they draft you and another guy at the same time for the same position. And he's not getting a lot of burn. So he's the one that's getting traded and not me. And hopefully I'll be a starter soon, apparently. But yeah, that's been fun. I actually like the story this year a little bit more than last year. My biggest complaint, though, is the new online city. It's so massive, and I'm going to have to probably buy a skateboard or something to get around because it's just huge. It's unnecessary size for a social space. It really is. What have you been playing, Anthony?
So I did try the Outriders demo. It's different. It's not really my thing. Trying not to be negative. I like the power set that you get. I think of anything in the game, that's probably my favorite aspect of it. I had, was it called the Trickster?
Makes sense.
Power set. Yeah. Hey. No, but it was, I like the powers. I think for me, if I would have been able to access them a little earlier, use a little bit more, there's a balance. I get it. But aside from that, again, Ghost of Tsushima, I've been playing the campaign, and it's a good game. I love the time that we can take with it and plotting, and like I said before, and taking our time strategizing. And I like the little things that get you. You can customize your character and all that sort of thing. So I've had a lot of fun with that one. I think out of the online games I've played lately, that's probably my favorite, which makes sense because that's my favorite game anyway. So it was just a fun extension of that. And I haven't played 2K, but I tend to play more of the my NBA because I like to take franchises and move them to different cities and all that sort of thing. It's fun, and it is better than 2K20. I just thought with this being the next level platform that some of the kinks would have been worked out a little bit with the customization, but I'm still waiting. So for instance, I took the the Kings from Sacramento moved to Las Vegas, and you can customize it and everything. But every once in a while, that Sacramento banner still comes out, and I'm like, come on, guys. But that's all I've been pretty much playing. How about you, Tars?
Oh, what have I been playing these days? I've been having a great time playing stuff. NBA 2K21 is my jam, fellas. I am kicking my brothers behind. And I know I mentioned on the podcast the last time, but it just keeps rolling, man. I'm enjoying every second of it. He used to kick my tail back 4 or 5 years ago when we used to play this, and have the roles changed. But I've also been playing a little of that, My Career also, and been quite enjoying that. The story, I've never played the story mode of NBA 2K before. So this is the first time that I'm actually running through it. And I'm actually liking the story. The story's actually kind of cool. And another great thing about doing that too is it gets you stronger with using a lot of the features of the gameplay mechanics. So I've been getting better at defense, and that may be one of the reasons why I've been getting better and have at least been able to compete with my brother, if not beat him. So I'm glad I'm actually spending a little time in that mode. That's actually pretty cool. But I've also been playing a lot of the Outriders demo, more than I actually thought I would. I probably put about 30 hours into the Outriders demo. It's a 3 to 4 hour demo with about 4 missions, but I like the game so much, I've just been going back to it. And as you continue to play and you farm at higher tiers, world tiers, you get better loot. And I got a couple of legendaries, and it's been really, really cool to run through the game with these legendary weapons that I have. I typically play as I actually have characters for all 4. So I ran through the demo with all 4 characters, leveled them all up. But I think my favorite character to play as will be the Devastator. The Devastator is a really, really cool character to play through. All of them are actually really cool, to be honest with you. I like this game so much, I bought it. I pre-ordered it on PlayStation. And I'm also going to play it on Xbox. Debating whether or not I want to get the Hell Rangers DLC or the pre-order that comes with it, so you can get additional weapons and gear and that kind of thing. But been having a great time with that. But I also played a little Ghost of Tsushima with James and Anthony, and we had a great time playing the multiplayer in Ghost. When we played a few Thursdays back, we played on a Thursday one day for a few hours, and we had a good time running through that. We had to play with some randos because we needed a fourth wheel, and we just jumped in. We just let some guys jump in with us, and we played with them. They were just running all over the place. And then we switched over to play a few missions in Outriders. And we played Outriders weeks before when it first came out. And I thought they changed their mind about how they felt about it, but it may not be their jam. But when we switched over to play a few missions in Outriders, they started complaining like a bunch of old curmudgeons. Oh my God, Brad. Brad, I said they were complaining so much, I had to ask James Anthony what was in those cups they were drinking, because they were poo-pooing all over a game that I love.
When I get thirsty and I just want to hate on something somebody loves, I reach for a nice, cold brewed James Anthony Haterade. Gives you all the electrolytes you need to poo-poo all over it. James Anthony Haterade. It's what's in your cup.
It's funny how revisionist stories go, because you remember me and James making some random jokes at the expense of Outriders and your lack of shoes that you get in the beginning and stuff like that. But you don't remember how in Ghost of Tsushima, when you play the character the way you're supposed to play, you kept calling me a coward for a good 25 minutes because I was the hunter. And I was playing from a distance because your strength is your bow. So I think it's weird that you have a selective memory, but that's fine. I guess we won't get a clip of that.
No, you're right. You're right. It's all in fun, man. It's all in fun.
You know, it's funny to kind of piggyback on what Anthony said. Like the way that him and I played the story mode together, it worked out perfect because most of the guys were in groups of 2. So he'd be like, all right, I'm going to shoot this one. And I would be above him like, all right, I'm going to stab this dude. And I would assassinate one and he would, shoot the ball at the other. And like probably through the first 4, 6 missions, I don't think either of us died. Like, I don't even think like we really had a challenge because we were just working together so well with having the range and the close attacks. And he does have a selective memory though, because
he does.
He also forgets how salty he was because we were making fun of his game. If we could have only had his like a webcam on him slouching in his seat pouting because we were like, man, these loading times, man, I don't have any sneakers.
They were hating on it so bad, man. My feelings did get hurt. Ain't gonna lie to you. I was like, I love this game.
Jokes.
Why are y'all hating on this game? I love this game.
And I was really just jokes.
Hey,
but I will tell you one thing though is not to go back to it too much, but James brought up a good point, and it, like I said, is the way that campaign is set up. The thing I like about it is if you play to your character's strengths, you have different modes of attacks. And I swear the way we did it, if you look at our stats, which I'm not a stat guy, but even, James pointed out, our stats are pretty even because of the way we attacked it. You know what I mean? We would look at, it wasn't like, hey, buddy, let's go attack this camp and I'll see you back in a couple of minutes. We literally, James, I give James the most credit because he took the lead because he's got a little bit better strategic mind than I do. But I think that's why if you're able to do that and you're able to take advantage of each class's strength and apply it to the campaign, it does make a difference. But in the end, what I liked about it was you look at our stats and they're pretty even across the board. You know what I mean? Awesome. We're doing the same things, but we're just using our character strengths in that situation.
That is fantastic. But still,
James Anthony Hatery.
It's what's in your cup.
Hey, Brad, it was basically at the end of that last mission, we were joking. I thought we were having a good time, but Tars was like, I'm taking my ball and going home. I'll see y'all.
You know what? And listen, I want to give an apology to the fellas. Actually, I did have a bad attitude that night. I will agree to that.
You know what's crazy?
Let me just explain why.
You know how I know he's really upset, and I appreciate that he said he had a bad attitude. But not only that, I wonder if he got up and recorded that because that's his voice on that recording. If y'all didn't know, he recorded that.
I mean,
that's like a diss track. I'm gonna have to. I think I got to come back on that.
Man, I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't know what it is about this game, and I am in love with this game.
He just like
and
you ushered us. Like
you're in love with it, guys. I wasn't there, obviously, but it impacted him enough that he needed to vent to someone about it, and that someone was me. And I'm like, and we had a long discussion about the Division 2 and how when we played it, I didn't say anything, but I wasn't having a good time, not because of you guys, but because of the game. And I'm like, okay, like I'm not gonna ruin these guys' good time that they're having. But yeah, I was just like, wow, they must really not like this game, and which was funny because I at the time did not like it either. I was not like, I played like the first like 10, 15 minutes of it, didn't even get past the tutorial. I'm like, man, this feels weird. The gunplay sucks. Like in that opening thing where you're having to do the training tutorial. I'm like, this does not feel right. The graphics just look like they're like Xbox One, like, but like as the game kind of opens up, the gameplay itself got better to me, and the gunplay and stuff got better. So, and I like unlocking the powers and stuff. So, I'm going to give it a fair shake. I'm going to play it. It does seem like it would be worth at least one playthrough. I don't know if it's like that kind of thing for me where I'm like going to do, I'm not into it as Taurus is. I'm not going to have multiple play. I mean, I've followed it on like Reddit and message boards and stuff. There are people that are hardcore enthusiasts for this game. So, it does seem like it has a very strong following in the groups of people that really, really like it. And, I think the same can be said for a lot of other games too. There are people that just absolutely hated The Last of Us Part 2. I loved it. I can't wait to go back through it when they update it for the PS5.
So my point though, Brad, is I'm not disparaging the game or his love of it. It's just, I think he's crossed that line a little bit where he goes into like, hanging pictures up in his wall in his room, and
he's got an Outriders shrine.
Obsession with because now, Brad, you've played the Division 2 with us.
Yes,
and you of all people know how serious are we through those missions. I mean, we take them seriously, but how much clowning are we doing throughout while we're playing?
A ton.
That's all we were doing. And it was so funny because the next time James and I played online, we hadn't heard from Taurus. and I think neither one of us wanted to bring it up. And we were like, hey, man.
Do you know, I think the biggest downside
he was like, hey, man, you talk to Taurus? I was like, nah, man, you talk to Taurus.
Oh, man. Okay.
And like we were afraid to contact him. We're like, we'll just let him cool down before we contact him again.
You know what I think it was? I think it was the levity that I bring to the situation. Like I couldn't be there with Outriders because that's probably the biggest knock I have against the game is it's three-person co-op. Like I would love to have 4 people on a squad instead of 3.
That would be cool if they had 4. I will say this though, before we move on from this, I think what hurt my feelings more than anything else though is we had such a great time playing Ghost of Tsushima and the Division 2. We were just killing it, man. Just having a fun time, joking around, enjoying ourselves, woohoo. And then we get to Outriders, a game that I have just come to. I don't know what it is about this game, guys. I really don't. But this game just has me freaking hooked. And I was really looking forward to playing this with you guys. And there were times when we'd be playing and we'd go through something and we'd all use our powers in conjunction with one another, do something really cool. And I'd say, man, did y'all see that, fellas? Wasn't that the coolest thing you'd ever seen? And Anthony would be, oh man, that was so cool. That was really cool. And then he'd be like, no, it wasn't. I was just kidding. It's not. I'm like, man.
Hey, Taurus, just make sure you put your gamer tag in that whole 400 group on Facebook. I'm sure y'all already got t-shirts made up. If you don't, Taurus is going to make them a t-shirt, by the way, for his Facebook group. But
I'm changing my gamer tag.
I can't believe you made a diss track. Damn.
Hey,
I got to come back now. I'm going to have to come back on Facebook or Twitter.
While he's doing it, he's
track.
like... while he's in his lab, he's like this. I'm gonna show these guys. Where did he get this? I can't wait.
That was both the funniest and most uncomfortable thing I've had to watch Taurus ever do. When he brought that water bottle up, I'm like, okay, this is going a little too far for me.
I had to get him back, guys. I had to get him back. I'm telling you.
Oh my God. James Anthony, hatery.
It's what's in your cup.
It's not what's in your cup. It is in your cup. That haterade.
He's been holding on to that for 2 weeks now.
Oh man, I love you guys, man. I love you guys. We have fun, and this was all in fun, man. I just want to let you guys know that what we experienced that Thursday night is not the norm, man. But last thing I want to say about that. Up to that point, when we were playing Thursday night, I'd probably put in about 15 hours of editing on the last show that we did because we had some issues with people's tracks. And you guys know that I'm not necessarily a late night person. And we were playing at like 11 o'clock. And so I spent like 4 hours prior to us playing, working on the show. And then I get in and I'm having a great time with you guys on Ghost of Tsushima. We're killing it and everything's going great. All of a sudden we get to another game I love and all of a sudden they just killed it for me. I was like, oh my God, man, I got to get out of here now. I was tired anyway, but that's on me, guys. I appreciate you bearing with me. Don't hate on me.
That's all good.
You know, don't stop texting me. Don't stop calling me, man. I still got love for y'all.
At least you didn't rage quit. I mean, that's another positive we could take from this. You didn't just turn your Xbox off and go to bed.
Wait, hold on. He didn't rage quit because it was Outriders. If we were playing something else and talking about Outriders, he would have rage quit.
We had to finish that mission before I jumped off. I was like, let's finish this. But after this, I'm done, guys. I'm done with you.
I'm not playing with those guys again.
Awesome. Well, all right, guys, let's move it on to movies and TV. Movies and TV.
Movies and TV. In a world where movies and TV are on the same level playing field, what are you watching? The Fun Waste of Time Podcast.
How do you want to do this when I leave?
What we can do is we're going to talk.
You're going to probably edit this out right here because you're going to transfer from.
Did you watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
No.
You didn't get the chance to watch it? Okay.
No.
What, Brad,
I don't mind talking about that. I don't want to be here with the Justice League stuff.
Oh, no worries. Well, if you haven't, we're going to do our non-spoiler impressions for Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Okay.
But if you've not seen it and you don't want to be spoiled on it, or you don't want to even hear anything about it, then you can just step out and we'll catch you on the next episode, my friend. You good hanging out?
Yeah,
For a little bit?
I'll like hang out for this one, and then I know like in StreamYard you can like bring me out. So I didn't know if you wanted to be like say, hey, like Brad hasn't watched it, so like he's gonna go ahead and dip out, and I'll just be like, hey, see you guys later and whatever.
Well, I guess he's editing this part now.
You can't edit. You can't edit Streamlabs. It's live.
This is what
it's
it is.
live.
All the gaps and everything. It's all going to be there.
Oh, cool.
Way to go, Brad.
No problem.
But like I said, I'm not really sure if I'm going to put it out there for people to watch. This is just a test to see how it all plays out and see how we all feel about it.
Yeah.
And I can always go back in the audio and clean this portion up in the audio. So no big deal. So hang out with this, Brad, for a little bit. And then once we get to the spoiler discussion for Zack Snyder's Justice League, you can take off at that point.
Okay.
All right. So just this week, Marvel Studios' Falcon and the Winter Soldier premiered on Disney+. And I'm really curious to hear what you guys thought about that first episode. I'm going to start with James on this one. James, what were your impressions of the first episode? And is it something that you think you'll want to continue to watch week to week, or do you think you want to wait for the entire season to drop, since it's only going to be about 6 episodes?
Full disclosure, I watched Justice League before watching this. So it was a meh to me. I think because they were so close together, I wish I would have had more time in between. But, obviously for content's sake, I had to take everything in, this weekend. I thought the first 5 minutes, the action was like Game of Thrones level production quality and way more than what I expected. And then after that, it was just meh. There wasn't really anything going on. I guess I appreciate them putting backstory into it, but after that first 5 minutes, it was 50 minutes of, okay, next week. I'll continue to watch it, hoping for more of that first 5 minutes, but I was, I was kind of let down after that start. Let's just put it that way. What did you think, Anthony?
I liked it a lot. But I definitely see what you're saying. The opening scene was awesome. I like GSP. GSP comes in and he plays a not as familiar to a lot of people Captain America villain named Batroc the Leaper. He was kind of like a cartoonish villain to begin with, but he made his appearance initially in the Winter Soldier movie. And man, I just love the way they updated that character. But yeah, the way Sam went into the helicopter scene and the fight scenes and all that. I like the Flag Smashers. I like what they did with them. They put a little, instead of making it just an individual, it's more of a group situation. But I see what you're saying. It did kind of slow down, which is okay. I did expect it to pick back up, though. I felt like, usually you have that initial opening scene where it's like a punch to the gut, to get you excited, and then you get the backstory, and then they give you something a little bit at the end. They didn't really do that in this one, but I still preferred it over, let's say, WandaVision. This is more in line with the Marvel universe that I prefer than the WandaVision. I know they took some chances and a lot of people loved it, and I'm not downing it. It just wasn't for me. But I'm really excited. I like the buddy cop dynamic between Sam Wilson and Bucky. The only unfortunate thing is, and I get it, they're telling a story in long format, but I just would like to see a little bit of interaction between the two in there. But I'm really excited about it. I don't know about Wyatt Russell yet, who's playing, there he is right there. I guess they're calling him Captain America. In the comic book, he was U.S. agent. but I'll give the guy a chance. He just looks a little weird right there. He just looks weird to me. You know what I mean? He looks like a little kid that's dressed up like Captain America.
Opie dressed in Captain America's costume.
No, he looks. His face looks like the old man from Up. It really threw me through. I was like, what the?
Kind of does.
Like I was like,
Opie
what the
from the
hell?
Andy Griffith Show.
He does look like the dude from Up. I'm not gonna not be able to see that from now on. But I like the fact they incorporated parts of his original comic book costume in there. It's not exact because it was more black, red, and white, but I'm excited for it. This is the one Marvel. I like Loki. I'm interested in that, but this is the one I think of all the Marvel Disney Plus projects I was most excited about. So I think it was a good start. It could have been a little bit better, but that opening scene, man,
It was top notch.
It was. That was movie quality action that they did that. You know what I mean? The whole time I'm watching this, I'm like, there's very few shows that give you action on this level. So hats off. I think it's a good start. Not a great start, but I definitely will watch it the whole time. What about you, Tars?
I actually loved it. I thought it was really, I thought it was done really well. I like the fact that they started out with that opening action sequence because it let people know that this is going to be something to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
And it also made the story beats that came after it more tolerable, and you were more invested because you know that there's going to be some awesome action to happen at some point throughout the season. So it definitely gets people invested. And the fact it's only 6 episodes and they were roughly about 45 minutes, there was 45 minutes of content as opposed to the 20 to 30 minutes that we got from WandaVision, I thought was really, really cool as well. And I also like the fact that they showed the human side to being a superhero. That is what was cool. And that's on both sides of the house. That's on Falcon's side. And that's also on Bucky's side because they both were dealing with some things in their life. And it was really, really interesting to see them go through all of that. I also like the ancillary characters that were in the show. Not going to spoil anything for those that haven't actually seen it, but some of the supporting characters for each of them. Falcon has a kind of a little partner that he's working with a little bit when he's doing the military thing, and Bucky has a friend.
A little partner. Nice way to describe it. Okay.
Well, he's got a place. Seems like a young guy.
He just
kind of seems like a young guy. Yeah. But like I said, I think it's cool. I'm liking what they're doing, and I'm pretty sure that it's only going to get better as the episodes continue.
I will say one thing. It does not put Tony Stark in a good light. I'll just leave it at that.
Ooh, I wish we could dig into that a little more because I don't.
Oh, you know
understand.
why? You know what I'm talking about.
Okay, we're going to have to go to that off camera.
There, you'll find out something about Avengers that you didn't know that they'll reveal. And you got to pay attention. It's a tiny little beat when Sam is with his sister.
It's in the first episode?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I need to go back
Apparently,
and watch
Tars wasn't paying attention. He was too busy cutting little clips to make fun of his friends, diss tracks. But yeah, there's something in there, and you're like, wow. Tony Stark wasn't as nice as we thought he was.
I got to go back and check that out, man. I completely missed that. Okay. That is awesome.
I know what you're talking about now that you put it in context like that. I remember exactly what you're talking about now. I was shocked. I was shocked too. Yeah, I was like, damn, really? But yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Got to go back and see that. But I don't want to say anything more because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody because there are some things that I could throw out there that could potentially be what you're referring to. But awesome show. Really, really excited to be able to discuss this with you guys more as the weeks go on and we get more episodes of it. So it's going to be pretty cool. Now, Brad, I know you have to go. I know you haven't seen it yet, Brad, but are you looking forward to actually watching this show? Are you going to watch it week to week? Or are you going to just wait for the season to be done? How are you planning on watching this? And are you even interested in it?
Thanks for remembering me before you went to the next segment. I really appreciate that. But no, seriously though, I do want to see it. I honestly don't care about the characters, to be honest. I'm going to watch it for you guys because I want, I'm not going to watch it week to week though. Same with WandaVision. I actually I watched WandaVision week to week because I was stupid. And and I was like so mad at myself because we've talked about this before. I'm kind of like a weird, like there's really no pleasing me. I want all the episodes to watch at my leisure, but I don't like binge watching stuff. So I don't mind watching like 2 or 3 episodes a day, but like I'm not one of those like I'm gonna watch 8 or 10 episodes of The Haunting of Hill House or whatever, in one sitting. I can't do it. I just feel I need time to like process and really appreciate it. But yeah, I will be watching it. Strangely enough, I actually just watched the Avengers Assemble thing that they have on Disney Plus for the making of WandaVision. I actually enjoyed that probably more than I enjoyed the series because I'm all into filmmaking and stuff anyway. So I love what they did with that. How they did all. I know we're not talking about WandaVision, but I really liked the process they went through and the time they put into that show and trying to replicate those time periods in TV history and stuff like that. But yeah, I will watch it. I'm not gonna lie, I don't like Anthony Mackie at all. I never have.
I'm glad you put Mackie on there. I'm glad you put Mackie on the end of that because I started to get my feelings hurt.
Oh yeah, I never liked Anthony. No, he's just, I don't know. Not that he's a bad actor or anything. I never really liked the whole. I mean, you guys know me well enough to know I'm not as invested in these characters and stuff as you guys are, and I'm more of a fan of the films coming just from the film side of things and not from the comics. So that I don't have that history that you guys have. So I kind of wish I did, but I really am just not into comics that much. So like, it's cool though to hear you talk about a character that was in a comic book and he's now in a show. And like, if you're not familiar with it, then you don't know that. But then that's like a cool little Easter egg for comic book fans, So I do like the attention to detail they put in the shows, but I'm just going to wait until they all come out because I'm not going to sit here week to week and just go, oh, wait, I can't wait for next week. It's going to be another 50 minutes of them just sitting around talking.
Hey, Brad.
Hey.
You have your cup in front of you there?
My LaCroix thing? I don't have a cup.
You sure you're not drinking that James Anthony?
What?
Are you sure you're not drinking that James Anthony? When it comes to Anthony Mackie, you drinking that James Anthony, that haterade?
He's talking about haterade.
Oh no, I don't hate the guy. I'm not a big fan of him. I've never, all throughout the Marvel universe, it's kind of like what's funny is I never was a big fan of Paul Bettany. But then I like watch WandaVision. I'm like, I actually like him as an actor. Like I've seen other things that he's been in and he's like a really good actor. I've just never really seen anything other or any other Anthony Mackie projects. So
if you want to watch something, I have something I can recommend to you.
Oh, great. Is it Trolls World Tour? Is he a voice in that or something?
He has a Black Mirror episode out that is the only thing that I remember him by.
Wow. I've never watched that show. I might.
It will make you uncomfortable to play co-op games again.
I mean,
very much so.
If you and Taurus get stuck playing a late night co-op game and Black Mirror, this Black Mirror episode comes to your mind, you will feel dirty. So don't do it.
Especially with the innuendos that Taurus says when we're playing these late night games.
What was it? Yeah. Stay Still? Was it that one? Stay Still?
Stay Still. Stay Still times 1,000.
Yeah. Oh man. Now I got to watch it. I'm curious.
No, you definitely do, man. I'm telling you,
it's weird.
It is.
That is awesome.
Freaky.
Well, Brad, I know you got to go because we're going to have that spoiler discussion for Zack Snyder's Justice League. Thank you for hanging out with us, my friend. It's been awesome having you on and looking forward to getting you back.
Awesome. Yeah. Have fun, guys. I will catch you in the next one.
All right, buddy.
Later.
So he's out.
Let's talk about Brad now.
Like you talked about me when you were playing co-op?
Yeah, we did that to your face, though.
Good friends don't do that, man. Good friends don't do that.
I love Brad.
He's a good dude. All right, so now on the last episode of the podcast, we talked about our excitement levels as we were anticipating watching Zack Snyder's version of the Justice League. At the time, the final trailer had dropped, and there were some new revelations about our heroes, antagonist, story, and cameos in the film. And we wanted to share our thoughts on what we saw and heard up to that point. Well, now we've all seen the 4-hour presentation of it and are excited to give our spoiler impressions and thoughts. As I stated, this is going to be a spoiler-filled discussion. So if you've not seen the film just yet and you don't want to be spoiled, stop listening right now and come back and check the rest of the episode out after you've done so. So let's get into our impressions of the film, guys. Let's go with Anthony on this one. Anthony, what did you think? Because you were the one that was most excited about this. This was your number one.
This was my number one. Yep, my most anticipated. I loved it. I really did. I think it was a much more improved film, a better storyline. It was not by any means a perfect film, but it was beautifully shot. I liked some of the scenes that we didn't get a chance to see in the Justice League version. There were a couple things I did not like. And I'll start off with those just because they're the easiest to remember, because there wasn't much I didn't like about it. I did not like the aspect ratio. I feel like it didn't add. I was open to it. I didn't think I was going to like it, but I said, well, hey, maybe once I see it and it's high definition glory, maybe I'll get used to it. I've seen older shows that are presented in that type of format. But I don't personally think it added anything for me visually. I would have rather them go ahead and put it up there widescreen and had it like that. But it wasn't, it was not distracting by any means. It didn't take me out of the fantasy. It didn't bother me as much. I just would have preferred it in a traditional sense. The music, Junkie XL, man, I did not care for his version. I did not like the way he scored this one. One of the very few things I will give to the Justice League is I think they brought in Danny Elfman to replace Junkie XL. And then on this one, they brought Junkie XL back. A typical scene I give you an example of is when Aquaman is going back into the water, and they replaced the White Stripes Icky Thump with some ballad that I was like, wow, okay. This has the opposite effect of the visuals that I'm seeing. Because to me, it does give us a better idea of like when they're scoring projects, what an impact the music can make to the visual. Because I feel like that now the shots, if you notice that Zack used of Aquaman going back into the water there, they were better than the visuals that Joss decided to use. But the music was not. I felt they should have kept that in there. But the only other thing that kind of bothered me a little bit was Mira's accent. Oh, wow. Mira's accent was not good. That was a totally right decision that they made in the Justice League version to just let her speak as normal, because I know there's fans of her and there's haters of Amber Heard because of what's going on with Johnny Depp. But yeah, she can't do a British accent very well. So just let her talk, man. I didn't think it added anything, but overall, I liked the film. I like seeing Darkseid, Desaad. We got Granny Goodness, even though she didn't have any lines in there. She had a little cameo in there, but I just felt like the story beats were a little bit better in this one. One of the controversial things will probably be the nightmare at the end. I don't know that I was that big a fan of it, to be honest with you. I was surprised. I liked seeing Slade back, Slade Wilson, come back as Deathstroke, I guess, for those who didn't know that's his name. I like seeing the team together. It was kind of interesting. But some of the dialogue with the Joker, I was a little uncomfortable with, between the Joker and Batman, to be honest with you. Felt like, and I know that Jared Leto, who I'm the only one on this discussion that actually likes Jared Leto and his music, but I understand that he improvised some of that dialogue. I just felt like, I don't know. It took me to places I didn't really want to go, but I guess, it's a nightmare scene, so, they let it all hang out. But it was overall well. I wish my last thing I wish though is I wish that was not John Stewart, or excuse me, I wish that wasn't Martian Manhunter at the end with a cameo. I know originally it was supposed to be a Green Lantern in the original treatment, and from what I've read online was it was not supposed to be Hal Jordan. That Zack Snyder wanted John Stewart, which I would have been totally cool with. But apparently WB, for some reason, I guess because of I don't know if it's the Green Lanterns project they're working on for HBO Max, or if they're planning something theatrical version of him or something, but they said hands off, which I think, again, that's where we talk about WB sometimes, where their decisions affect the product. I just felt like at the end, seeing Green Lantern, whether it be John Stewart or Hal Jordan, show up to talk to Bruce would have been just fanboy apocalypse. It would have just been just off the chain crazy good. Because we did get to see Martian Manhunter in the earlier scene between Martha and him pretending to be Lois. So, James, what'd you think of it? After my 15-hour dissertation I just gave.
I was first on just what you said. I feel like it felt kind of timid compared to like our conversations. I mean, for me personally, it's the best like multi-hero superhero movie in my opinion. Like I think it's better than Endgame and Infinity War. And I've read both sides of the fence on kind of why people didn't like it, why the people who did like it loved it, and I just feel that, like, as far as that goes, it circles around to we're so used to what Marvel puts out. Mm-hmm. It's, like when we've talked about it numerous times, I'm not going to go too deep into that when it's a little bit darker and it maybe, takes you to a place that you don't want to go or you're not used to in your superhero movies, all of a sudden there's like, it's pushback. And I guess that's the one thing that I enjoyed about it the most was it being a little bit more adult oriented. I'll give you an example. We've watched, my daughter and I, she's going to be 5. We've watched almost every Marvel movie and she's never been scared. She was scared when she watched the Justice League. All right. So, that's okay. She went and did other things. It wasn't really her cup of tea, but man, it was really freaking good. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching it, and my girlfriend who's not really into it, she just watches it because I watch it. She's like, why the hell did they cut all this stuff out?
Yeah.
And when somebody who doesn't really have like any real investment into it other than the action and it looks good on the TV, that's kind of damning when you think about it. And I'm going to watch it again this week. I'm going to watch it as much as I can. And I know it's a long shot, but just let him finish what he started. Let him, even if it's just those 3 movies, let him, the 2 other Justice Leagues or whatever, just let him finish it. And man, it's just, it's a shame when you think about it. I was trying to think of something to compare it to where like, maybe Barry Sanders is a good comparison. And I know it's sports, but he retired way too early.
Yeah.
And you're like, damn, what if he was on a better team? You know what I mean? Whatever your what if, I guess, is in life. When I look at this movie, I'm sitting here and I'm like, what if they would have just let him do it? Yeah. Like they never really handcuffed anybody else. And all of a sudden he gets handcuffed and it's like, what for? Like you hire people to create, let them create. And I'm really happy that we got it. And I hope, personally, I hope we get more in the future, regardless of what it is.
One of the things when James and I talked about it that he said that I thought was like perfect, the way he put it, was James texted me, he was like, this does not look like a comic book movie. And for me, that resonated right away because he was absolutely 100% on point. And, for those who like or hate it or whatever your opinion is, I don't think anybody can disagree that this did not look like any other comic book movie we've ever seen. It was just visually stunning and refreshing. And you hit it right on the head, man. You just, it's something so different. And I agree with you. I totally agree with you 100%.
how do you cut Cyborg out of the movie like that?
Yeah.
Who makes that decision? And we talked about that too. Like, how can you not expect Ray Fisher, to be upset when you go from? I mean, you could honestly say there was 45 minutes to an hour that was like it was him, and then it's he has 9, 10, I don't know how long, maybe it felt like 10 minutes in Josh Whedon's version, and it's crazy to me. And how do you cut out the Flash at the end?
Yeah.
I think that it just that alone right there was so. I was like, that's where I was probably at 89% invested. And then it just gave the other 11% because it added so much more depth to that scene and the reasons behind it.
So I think now that we know what we know that's going on with Joss Whedon, I can never pronounce the name correctly at first. Joss Whedon, you have to wonder if Walter Mata had said it's going to be 2 hours, that's it. And that was just a business decision. So it should, because all they were thinking of, they weren't thinking about story. They weren't thinking about beats, like you said, they weren't thinking about development. They were thinking, how many times can this play in a day in a movie house? Which is unfortunate because it definitely had an impact. But the other thing you kind of wonder is, did the decision to cut a lot of Cyborg's story come from the issues that Joss and Ray Fisher had with each other? Because then again, that's where we see it again, where, other decisions other than the project, other than the material, are guiding the decisions that were made on how it came out.
And just because it's really interesting, I didn't think of the perspective of, it's 2 hours, how many times we can play it. I think it really would have gave WB somewhere else to go that separated it from the Marvel movies. This is 4 hours. We're charging $20 because it's 4 hours. And they could have did the same thing that we just got with next gen games. Hey, this is next gen. This is what we're doing. It's $10 more. Take it or leave it.
But,
I'm just saying, you could break it up. You could do an intermission. And I think that you could have done something innovative in the theater space that was different from the Marvel stuff, where people are like, hey, this is kind of a cool format. I wouldn't mind doing this again. And that's where I think they could have separated a little bit, especially in the theater. Now, obviously, COVID would have torn that apart, but they could have started something where you did a 2 hour thing and there was an intermission, and that would have been completely different than what we've gotten from Marvel so far. So I think it's a missed opportunity, in my opinion, from what you said, where they could have done something a little bit more innovative and a little bit different that separated them from it just being a superhero movie.
Well, the problem is with WB, they started off on that path of not wanting to be Marvel. But I think what's happened over the years is Marvel having the success. Unfortunately, they will always forever be linked. They just will be. It's unfortunate because of their competing companies, their rival companies. But that breeds comparison. I think WB started off on a path to separate themselves, but somewhere along the way where they saw that the Marvel was commercially more successful model, that's when they kind of waffled back and forth between this original vision and trying to appease the masses like Marvel does. Don't you think, Tars?
To a degree, yes, I do, actually. The executives, at least, were just looking after the financials as opposed to what's going to make this a good film to keep people coming back to watching it. And it's quite obvious after seeing the Zack Snyder version and what we got with the Joss Whedon version. Just to give my opinions on this film, it was fantastic. You guys hit everything, you hit the nail on the head. This was a fantastic film. And in my opinion, you guys know that I'm kind of so-so on Zack Snyder. I do like Man of Steel is in my top 5 movies, superhero movies of all time. He did a great job with that. But Justice League is his masterpiece, I think. It is the best film that I have seen him do. And the whole time that I'm sitting in my theater watching this, I'm thinking to myself, I can't believe they cut all of these fantastic scenes out. I'm like, why would they do this? But Once again, as you stated, Anthony, it was a financial decision. They were trying to cut it down to 2 hours. And in doing so, they did it at a disadvantage to not only the film, but to all of the characters that Warner Brothers owns within the DC universe. There's no reason.
I want to say something before you go on. I want to prove Tars's point because I think I still have the text that he sent me when he was watching it. Unfortunately, these guys text me way too much. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think he said something like right in the middle. Tars, what did you send me and James? That message when you're about maybe halfway through the movie. Do you remember?
I can't remember. It might have been something along the lines of, I am surprised by how much I'm really liking this.
Yeah.
By how good this is. And I was only halfway through the movie. I hadn't even finished it just yet. And up to that point, it absolutely was worth a watch. And as we stated a little earlier, I told you that I took 2 days off to play Outriders when it comes out. I took the day off to watch the Snyder Cut because I wanted no interruptions. I wanted to make sure I was fully awake as I was watching this because I wanted to absorb everything that he put in it and really pay attention to what the differences were between Joss's version and his. And I got to say, I didn't need to really pay attention because this was damn near a different movie.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
It was damn near a different movie. Excuse my language. The story made sense. All of the characters got their moment to shine. The action was the best of any comic book movie that I've seen. Marvel has some great action, don't get me wrong. But the chance that Zack Snyder took by making this movie rated R, because don't get it wrong, this is a rated R movie. Wonder Woman was busting heads by dropping fools in walls during that opening scene, that opening bank robbing scene. And Darkseid was, did you guys notice when Darkseid was tearing people apart and in Atlantis, just tearing people apart, and there'll be pools of blood, surrounding, him just wrecking the Atlanteans. And Steppenwolf did the same thing when he was there. So the fact that it is more of a, as James stated, dark movie, it's rated R, I kind of felt that it took it to another level for me. I appreciated the fact that it was for me and not necessarily for general audiences. You know what I mean? This is kind of a fan's film if you really think about it.
It is.
It really is a lot of things that happened in it. And each scene had context. I really did like the opening of the movie with seeing Superman on
Doomsday?
Superman on, I'm blanking his name.
Doomsday?
Doomsday. Yeah.
Doomsday?
Superman on Doomsday's, whatever that was, he had like a staff or a pole, and he was just screaming in pain. And the fact that he was screaming in pain activated these mother boxes, to where, hey, now the most powerful being on Earth is gone. Let me go ahead and ping, the originators of the mother box. Steppenwolf came down, and that actually started the film. Everything had context, and it made sense. I don't remember completely understanding in Joss's movie why Steppenwolf was there.
That was the question I was going to ask you was, when you watched the original, did you get the idea that that's what woke the mother box, was the death of Superman?
I didn't. And it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but I definitely would have remembered that if it was one of the major plot points that actually kicked everything off. But it just made sense, man. And the jokes hit. The jokes had context. I actually laughed at some of the same jokes that were in the last movie, but because we had more context leading up to where they were, it just made me bust out laughing, man. I mean, it was done so well. What else here? Oh, the opening action scene that we just talked about with Wonder Woman at the bank. There was more to that scene than what was in the Joss version. And we actually got to see Wonder Woman kick tail. She kicked more tail in just that opening sequence than she kind of did in her own movie. Joss had her doing
I felt like they sped up the bullet part too to make her look a little faster. I thought they sped her up a lot in certain parts to make her look a little bit faster and stronger. And I really enjoyed it because the first thing I said, I was like, she looks a lot faster in this version. And I could be wrong, but it just looked like she was moving a lot quicker than she was in the original version.
Listen, she was moving as quick as the Flash, knocking those bullets out left and right. I mean, and it wasn't an automatic gun or a pistol that was being shot at her. It was an actual machine gun or semi-automatic rifle that was being shot at her. Bullets just coming left and right. And she was just doing her thing, man, and moving like the Flash, knocking these bullets off with her wristbands, like back in the old 70s TV show Wonder Woman used to have. Remember the wristbands that could knock out bullets and everything? And it just took it to a whole other level, man. So the action in this movie cannot be compared to much else that is out there, in my opinion. The Flash. I wasn't a big fan of the Flash in the Joss Whedon version of Justice League. Because once again, there was not enough context to why he was doing what he was doing. I didn't find him to be all that funny because we weren't really following his arc. But based on what Zack gave him and gave him his just due, you really felt for what Flash was actually experiencing. I felt for what he was experiencing with his father. You know, his father being in jail, I could tell that actually brought him pain and really affecting the way that he was maneuvering through life. The scene where he's in the pet store and Iris West makes her debut in the movie and she's about to get knocked out by that truck. The fact that he was so fast, he jumped out of his shoes just burst.
Yeah.
And he put a hot dog in his pocket. That was funny as hell.
I was like, that is so darn cool.
Yeah.
You know, but.
And Batman too, like, I really think that he was funny. And it was completely different compared to the Joss Whedon version. He was funny. Like, he was light. Yeah. He kept it light. He knew he wasn't really the most important person to make it all go around, but he knew he had to play his part, and he knew he had to get Superman back. And let's talk about that black suit, though.
Yeah, there was one line that he said in there that was not in the Justice League, which was, you know, it's not an exact quote, but it was something to the effect of, you know, hey, I tore these guys apart, so it's up to me now to bring them back together. You know, and I felt like the subtle differences. One of the things I know that Taurus did not like with the original Batman, and I think James didn't either, was when Superman shows up in the fight with Steppenwolf and Batman's face. And, you know, for me, I get it. That didn't seem like Batman. It seemed more like George Clooney Batman, that smile when he shows up. But I think you're right. I think the subtle differences between how Zack treated Batman to how Joss treated him, very, very different.
But here's the thing about Ben Affleck as Batman. Ben Affleck is the absolute GOAT as Batman and Bruce Wayne.
I agree.
I didn't have that same feeling after I watched Joss Whedon's version of the Justice League. I actually thought he was cut off at the knees. I didn't like Bruce Wayne and Batman in Joss's version because it almost seemed as he didn't belong there. Yeah. He's there among these super beings, and he really wasn't bringing a lot to the fight.
Yeah.
And his personality, I didn't understand how he went from where he was in BVS to where he was in Justice League, because there wasn't enough story, enough context explaining why he wanted to put together this group so badly. Everything just happened so fast in the Joss Whedon version. It just kind of, it killed the story a little bit for me when I was watching his version. But Zack corrected all of that. You know, the action sequences for Batman were much better and much more hard-hitting. That scene at the end of the movie where they are in the headquarters that Steppenwolf sets up on Earth, and Bruce jumps in the Batmobile, and he is doing his thing in the Batmobile. That scene was just so awesome. And it didn't look that good to me during Joss's version. And you know what else was missing in this? And I'm glad he took it out.
The Russian family.
But that too, I'm glad the Russian family was gone because it didn't need to be there.
Yeah. Okay.
But remember when Jason Momoa, Aquaman, was riding on top of the Batmobile and he was like, yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't in this one. it felt out of place in the Joss version, and there was no reason for it to be in this one. I'm glad he took that out. But the action was just so much better. It made so much more sense. And there was just a lot more context to this. And I want to speak on Steppenwolf real quick. Steppenwolf was a fantastic villain, in my opinion, in Zack's version.
Yeah.
I really, really liked what they did with not only his look, the way he didn't look like anything that was humanoid in any way.
Yeah.
He straight up looked like an alien from another planet, especially with those horns that he had on his head.
Yeah.
But I think what impressed me more than anything else about him was that battle suit that he was wearing. Did you notice how that battle suit would just do different things depending on what he was involved in?
Yeah.
I was like, that is one of the coolest things I think we've ever seen. The design on that was just awesome. Seeing Darkseid, even though Darkseid didn't play a major role, he wasn't the front antagonist in this one. He was the main antagonist because everything pretty much revolves around him.
Yeah.
But the scenes that he was in just really made you want to see that next movie that Zack's going to put out to see how Darkseid is going to just tear in to the Justice League. And I know Anthony said that based on what Zack did with the future scene, what was the scene called?
The nightmare scene.
The nightmare scene, and having Superman come in as the villain. You're like, I don't want to see Superman as a villain. I want to see Superman as a beacon of hope, a good guy. But after thinking how powerful Darkseid is and how he's able to control the people that work under him, I'm very interested to see how he got Superman to be from where he is at the end of this movie to where he ends up being in the Darkseid edition of the Justice League movie, Part 2, or whatever they would want to call it. But just fantastic. The scenes with Superman, the opening fight when he wakes up had a lot more weight to it. You understood, why he might have been kind of disoriented and kind of out of pocket. And when he actually got to Smallville, that kind of touched my heart, man. When he actually started to remember, who he was and where he was. I was like, oh, okay. I kind of got the feels on that. That's awesome.
Yeah. My only complaint with that fight, though, is I cannot stand when they call him Clark in front of all these people. I'm like, will you stop calling him Clark, please? But it's a minor thing, but you're right. I had a lot more heart. I thought they explained the anti-life equation much more in this movie. Because when you go back to BVS and you see that symbol on the ground in the Nightmare version there, you really don't have any context. Unless you read comic books and you kind of follow the storyline, you don't know what that means. But by adding Darkseid in there to explain to you that, okay, because the thing was, okay, once the mother boxes are gone, what else would he want with a planet except for revenge? Well, okay, the mother boxes are gone, but now you have the anti-life equation, which is truly one of the things that he's looking for. That was all lost in the first movie, unless you're hyper paying attention or connecting dots back to BVS that weren't properly connected. So I agree with you.
Mm-hmm. Now let's talk a little bit about the cameos. What did you guys think about the cameos? I know you mentioned Martian Manhunter, and you also talked a little bit about Deathstroke. James, what did you think about Jared Leto's Joker in the nightmare scene?
I thought that it was a little bit of redemption for him. He's kind of been treated poorly for his portrayal, which he doesn't have any control of, by the way. But his portrayal of the Joker has kind of been laughed on a little bit. And I liked the darker edge that they put on it. And I actually really enjoyed the context that they put in there. Again, it was separating light from dark. I thought it was really dark and very telling. And you don't really, on the big screen, you haven't really seen the Joker hold Batman accountable for all of the things that he's responsible for, whether it be directly or indirectly. And I thought in that moment, since they were kind of on the same team or the same side, for Batman to be held accountable in front of his peers, I thought that really put Batman in a smaller place, in a place where people could be like, well, wait a minute, damn, yeah, Batman he is kind of responsible for all these things. And I mean, they touch on that in The Dark Knight, which I ended up watching that after. And I really, really liked that he put him in his place. And it definitely made you think that maybe Batman's not as good as you think he is. And I really enjoyed that.
Awesome. And Anthony, you said you really weren't that big of a fan of Jared Leto's Joker anyway.
Well, I didn't say that. Actually, I like Jared Leto's Joker. I even liked him in Suicide. I was one of the few ones that actually like Jared Leto's Suicide Squad Joker. I understand why a lot of people didn't, though, because again, it goes back to my whole thing is when you try something new, it's not going to be for everybody, So I get that, just like the criticism I had of WandaVision, they tried something new, and that's why it didn't hit with everybody. But I wasn't opposed to the changes they made. I kind of liked the Suicide Squad Joker version because it was something fresh, something different. But I felt like that wouldn't have probably played well for what they used him for in this scene. I couldn't imagine, the damaged tattoo and the gold teeth and everything in the nightmare vision. So I understand why they went darker. It was nice to see them kind of talk because I think originally there were some cut scenes of Batman's appearance. It was a longer appearance in Suicide Squad, which we would have seen them interact. So we never really got a chance to see those two interact, which it kind of made me want to see more of. Because like you said, I think Ben Affleck is the best, the greatest of all time Batman on screen so far. And to see him and Jared Leto, the Joker, who's, that's Batman's main, arch enemy, would have been great. So even though I didn't like some of the dialogue that was going back and forth a little bit, it was nice to see them. But I kind of wanted to know a little bit more about why exactly did you need Joker for this? You know what I mean? Because he was putting together his team. I don't know if you guys got it. I didn't really get enough of a justification, or at least I didn't catch it. Maybe because I was just fanboying out. But I kind of wanted to know more about why was he so essential to this team.
So, and I don't remember which one it is. So you can help me, but maybe he tried to take a little nod to the one comic book where it's Batman and he just has Joker's head in the lantern or whatever. Do you remember which one? I don't remember the name of it, but basically
that last night.
Yeah, I think it's the last night where it's like apocalyptic and Batman.
That's the last night. KNIGT.
Right. Yeah. So that was the only thing that I kind of tied it to is maybe they thought that, obviously if they put his head in a glass container, people probably would have freaked out. But it would have been super cool. But I mean, if they kind of maybe tied it in that way, that was the only thing I could think of as far as that goes.
Awesome. Well, all right, fellas, let's give our grades for both Justice League movies. Give me what your grade was for the Joss Whedon version of the Justice League, and what would you give the Zack Snyder version of the Justice League? Let's start with James on this. What's your grade for the Joss Whedon and Zack Snyder versions of Justice League?
So I'm going to compare it to the time I watched it, because if I was just being in the moment, I would give Josh's an F, and that's not fair. Completely. So I would say at the time I watched it, I probably gave it a C or a D. It could have been a lot better, but it wasn't. We were missing everything. And so as far as the Snyder cut, it's A plus.
All right, Anthony, what's your grades?
So obviously, I give Zach an A, because I just thoroughly enjoyed his version. Joss is a little difficult for me because it's like our pizza discussion we have all the time. I love DC so much, and I love Superman, and I love the characters, that I'm probably going to grade him on a curve. In other words, I'm going to give him credit he doesn't deserve. But I'd probably give him maybe a C. The horrible mustache cover up they did. Some of the choices they made with the story, keeping it 2 hours, it's just not as coherent of a story. I'll give it a C, knowing that it probably deserves a D, but it's on a curve.
And that actually, I'm right in between you guys. That is the grade that I have for the Joss Whedon version, a D. Because I very much remember how I felt after walking out of the theater watching that. I was extremely disappointed with it. There were some things to like. Some of the action sequences were okay. There were a few scenes where I laughed here or there. But I walked away thinking to myself, you know what? There's no reason these aren't $3 billion movies with characters that have the longevity and the reverence that these DC characters have. And it's just poor writing. It's basically, it just comes to poor writing and poor decisions made by these executives. You know, so I couldn't give it anything.
I wouldn't say poor writing, because I think Chris Terrio did a good job with the actual writing. I just think
Joss Whedon came back and did rewrites.
Yes.
He did rewrites on the script.
Okay.
So that's what I'm talking about.
I would clarify the writing from the rewrite.
I am just speaking of the Joss Whedon version, right?
Okay.
So like I said, poor writing, the direction was kind of all over the place where the story wasn't necessarily coherent and making complete sense. So a D was the best that I could give it at that time, and it's what I'm going to give it now. I would give the Zack version an A. You guys are absolutely right. This, like I said when I started, is his masterpiece. In my opinion, it is the best ensemble superhero movie that we have to date. And what the executives should have done was allowed him to finish his vision the way that he did with the HBO Max version, and then just split it up into two parts. There were some great points where they could have ended the first film and then started the second film maybe the next later, like Infinity War and Endgame did. I know that the Russo brothers say that, you know, these aren't separate films. I mean, these aren't films that are together. It's not one film, but it kind of is.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's one continuous story just broken up into two parts. And that's exactly what they should have done with Zack Snyder's Justice League. I think they would have made a lot more money. The reviews would have been just as good as they are right now on Rotten Tomatoes. And people would have walked away happy. So awesome discussion. You know
guys.
what's funny, though? When you go back and you watch those first Avengers movies that Joss Whedon did, and you compare them to some of the Russo brother movies and the other movies that came after them, you know, like the Captain Americas and stuff, and you see a big difference. And I think that, without being too negative, but I think people are starting to see that maybe Joss on those first films was just riding on the popularity of the characters, the idea that they're together for the first time in live action. And I think now people looking back are seeing, especially after seeing how those characters took off under the Russo brothers and after Joss's exit. So maybe now we're starting to actually see him under the proper lens.
No, you're absolutely right. It's the novelty of it all when it comes to the movies that he directed. And even back then, I thought the Avengers movie was okay. It was not in my top 5, maybe not even in my top 10 of favorite comic book movies. Like you said, the novelty of seeing all of them together was kind of cool. And the plan that Marvel had laid out with each of them having their own individual movies and coming together, that never really been done before. So it actually was a lot of novelty when it came to the movies that he directed. And he even directed Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
Age of Ultron was, that was just okay. It was okay. Yeah. It was cool to see Ultron, I will say. And I did like James Spader as awesome. Ultron. He actually killed it as Ultron. I want to see Ultron come back in the Marvel Universe, to be honest with you. But his direction is it's okay. It's okay. James?
So one last question for me. Do you guys think we'll see another Zack Snyder DC project? Just a project. It doesn't necessarily have to be on the big screen. It could be HBO Max. Do you think we see another one? We'll start with Anthony.
I don't know. I didn't think we'd ever get the Zack Snyder cut. I'm glad we did. I'm on the fence on this one because as much Man of Steel is my number one movie of all time, of any movie, comic book, sci-fi, anything. I think he hit the ball out of the park with that one. But the problem with Zack's films are they don't always reach the masses the way they should. Because you guys, again, I think Warner Brothers wants, as much as they say they don't, they want to be Marvel. They want that commercial success. And I don't know that Zack can get to where, I don't think he can take them to that level from the theaters. Now, what would be smart is, because they're embracing multiple projects, is to let him continue it on HBO Max, where there is no box office, to where you're trying to bring revenue into your streaming service. You gave him $70 million for this one. How much more would people pay? Is it worth to do a Justice League 2 to see the full vision? I love Zack. I love his work, but I disagree with him on the journey that he's taken Superman on, because I've read exactly what that encompasses. I thought it, again, Man of Steel was his best work to me, but he's taking him on this arch to get him to where we all want Superman to be, and that won't be until Justice League 3. And I think the problem is that's too long of a story arc over 5 movies, and to only have 2, to have it bookend with what people really want. So I think it can happen, but it would have to be more along the HBO Max type of, I think that would be the best place for a Zack Snyder movie in the DC universe. What about you, Tars?
I agree. And the reason I say that is because he's already directing a movie for Netflix, Army of the Dead.
Yeah.
And if HBO Max comes back and says, hey, we have a project that we'd like for you to work for our streaming service, would you be open to doing it? There's a very, very good chance that he would want to do it. Now, I will say this. If there is a movie I would like to see him take over because of how well he did the action sequences in this movie, Wonder Woman. I want him to do Wonder Woman 3, because Patty Jenkins did a terrible job, in my opinion, on on Wonder Woman 1984. And just seeing what Zack did with Wonder Woman's action sequences, even we talked about the beginning scene during the bank robbery scene, but at the end of the movie when she's fighting Steppenwolf, she was straight up Sparta. I mean, she was kicking tail. She had her shield, she had her sword, and the action was fluid, and everything, you were able to follow it. Just freaking fantastic, man. Zack Snyder would be, I think, a good candidate to direct a Wonder Woman movie and take it further than it's been up to this point, because truthfully, there's nowhere to go but up when it comes to Wonder Woman 1984. So even if he does half of a good job as Wonder Woman 84, it's a win.
I'd love to see him do a movie with her taking over as queen or something of Themyscira, and have the whole thing just be based on Themyscira.
That would be cool. But what about you, James?
I think in some capacity he'll have something in the future. And I think it might be sooner than we think. Like we had talked about, just to keep it short, like you just follow the money. And I also think another telling thing with HBO Max opening up for a lesser subscription plan with advertising, this really, it feels like to me that it could happen, especially on the Max format.
Awesome. Well, all right. I want to thank you all for listening into this episode. If you enjoyed what you heard here today, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We'd love for you to join in with us the next time. Tell your family, tell your friends. We want as many people to join in on the fun as possible. Be sure to leave us a review on your favorite podcast platforms so more people can find out what the Fun Waste of Time is all about. If you're interested in some of the latest things that are happening within the Fun Waste of Time community, be sure to follow us on our website, thefunwasteoftime.com, Facebook, and Instagram. If you'd like to reach out to us to ask a question, share your thoughts on a particular subject, just give us a shout out. You can contact us on the Fun Waste of Time website on our contact page, or shoot us an email at podcast@thefunwasteoftime.com. That's podcast@thefunwasteoftime.com. Well, y'all take care, and y'all come back now. You hear?